We are going to do our devotional together today, this morning, for January 22nd, which is entitled, Let Me Be Spiritual. And we're going to begin by reading the affirmation together. Today, I set my intention to make the main thing the main thing. I will not get lost in the smallness of rules, clothes, prayers, or symbolism. I am an intelligent, awakened, and self-aware spirit being with the capacity and courage to see what is beneath the surface. I do not need a title, a reserved seat, a special parking space, or a fancy robe to be spiritual. I am created in the image and likeness of God and good, and tapping into my God-given divinity is the most spiritual thing I will ever do. Okay, so it begins by talking about rules, regulations, rituals, restrictions, regimens, everything that we associate with religion. All of those things, if we put too much emphasis on that, we lose sight of the main thing, which is our connection to God. When I read this devotion, I thought about a movie that I saw years and years ago in the 80s or 90s, I believe, called Dangerous Minds. I don't know if anybody saw that movie, but it was a great movie. And it was about a teacher who went to a school in a very violent neighborhood, and she was really she realized that she was not going to be able to teach her students anything until she first connected with them as human beings. And so she got really close to her students, and they would come to her for help. And so one of them came to her house one night and said he was running from some people who wanted to hurt him. So she let him stay, and then she talked him into going, though, because he had done some things he shouldn't have done. She talked him into going in the next morning and speaking to the principal. Now, the problem was the people were after him right that minute. So when he went into the principal's office, he didn't bother knocking on the door. He just burst in because he needed help. Well, the principal, in order to restore some order, what he believed the kids needed, he had set very strict guidelines. So when the student did not knock on the door, he sent him away. And later on, when the teacher came and said, "Did he come?" He says, "Yes, but I sent him away because he didn't knock on the door." And that was one of the crushing moments of that movie, because it did not end well for that student. And so sometimes we can let rules and regulations, no matter how well-meaning they are, we can let them get in the way of what the main thing is, which is helping out our fellow brethren and sistren when they are in trouble. I remember there was a man years ago who used to be a leader in this church, and we were in a meeting one time, and he was asked, what would you do if you were driving down the road and you saw a woman that you knew whose car had broken down and she was just standing there? Would you stop and pick her up if it was going to be you and her in the car by yourselves? And he said no. And everybody at the meeting just thought, what? And so, we can do that sometimes, though. We can let things get in the way. Now, this is going to be a dead giveaway. I know sometimes at the end we ask for you to guess which person wrote the devotion, me or my brother, and this is going to be a dead giveaway. But he talks about, in the second paragraph of this devotion here, a time when he went to a New Thought church, and they were going to go into their time of meditation. And so he was kind of new to this, and they were holding their hands a specific way. Well, he decided to hold his hands a little bit different way. And one of the women in the congregation decided she was going to go tell him he was doing it wrong. And he politely said, "You know what, ma'am, I've had so much religion in my life. I'm done with that. I'm just going to do this the way that I connect with God." And that's what we all need to do. And sometimes we need to be careful that we don't let religion get in the way of what the main thing is, which is to be spiritual. Whether it's helping your fellow man out and sometimes cutting them a little slack if they don't do it exactly by the rules because they really need help at that moment, or if it's your personal connection to God and somebody else is trying to tell you you're not holding your hands the right way or saying the right words or calling God the right name. Let's get rid of all that and remember, go back to the words of Jesus. What did he say? The greatest two commandments were, love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, and strength. God doesn't care how you hold your hands or what you call him or her or it. And love your neighbor as yourself. Do for your neighbor how you would treat your neighbor, how you would want them to treat you, especially when you are in trouble or they are in trouble. So let's end this by reading together the prayer, which just asks for us to call on a little bit of common sense. God never wants you to throw your common sense out the window. Common sense. I desire to be spiritually free, not religiously restricted. Enable me to make the main thing love, peace, and joy. Amen.